الرحمن الرحيم. Dear postgraduate student, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is lecture number 11, in which we will cover the remaining of the writing skill section in Unit 3. We already covered in the last lecture, lecture number 10, the how to write a sentence, how to link sentences together. Then we will focus on how to link paragraphs and how to write one paragraph about one idea. Today we will focus the remaining of this section, which are varying the structure and writing an article. Then we will move to the section 3, which is vocabulary development, is how to memorize the antonyms of some words which have prefixes. In this video we will focus on how to vary the structure, and then in a separated video we will move to the vocabulary development. Section 5, or exercise number 5 in Unit 3 in writing skill. Read paragraph 1 of the article again. Find an example of the present perfect, past simple, past continuous, and past perfect. And there is a study skill. Study skill is varying the structure. Interesting writing often contains a variety of tenses. So, here, when we talk about varying the structure, then it means that we are talking about the variety of tenses. And as you know, in English, there are about 12 different tenses. For example, past simple, it was a comfortable flight. It was a comfortable flight was referred to past. It is simple because we used one verb referring to the past. Past continuous. He was loading a plane at the airport. Was referring to the past. Was is referring to the past. It is past continuous because there is another verb with was loading. This verb is plus ing. When was or were coming plus verb plus ing, it means past continuous. Present perfect. He has been to France before. He has been, has plus past participle of the verb. Been is the past participle of the verb is. He has or have plus the past participle of the verb referring to the present perfect. When we use has or have, it means present. When it is added to the past participle, it means it is present perfect. He had taken past perfect. He had taken a part-time job at the airport. Had is referring to past. Had is referring to past. When it is added to past participle of the verb, it means it is past perfect. Now, let's go back to the exercise number 5. Read paragraph 1 of the article again, which is this one. Find an example of the present perfect, past simple, past continuous, and past perfect. Let us read it together. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else? Have you ever? Have you ever been? Have, because it is a question, so the sentence is started with the verb. When there is have plus the past participle of the verb, it means present perfect. Present perfect. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else? Last week, Mr. John Taylor, an Australian businessman, went to Paris. Went to Paris. Went, it is referring to the past, and because there is no addition, there is no another verb, there is no past participle, so it means it is past simple. Past simple. Went to Paris for an important meeting. He was sent by the Australian government to give a speech to French businessmen and women. He was sent. He was sent. It is past. Past. Sent here it is past participle of the verb because the sentence here is not active voice, it is passive voice. Passive voice. It was to encourage more trade. It was to encourage more trade. Was it not followed by a verb. It's not followed by a verb, so it means it is past simple. Past simple. It was therefore a very important speech. Again, it was a very important speech. Was, it is not followed by a verb, so it means it is past simple. And Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. Mr. Taylor had prepared. Had, past. It is followed by past participle of the verb prepare. Had plus past participle, it means past perfect. Past perfect. At the same time, Mr. Powell Taylor was also traveling on the same flight. Mr. Powell Taylor was traveling. Was traveling. Now we will underline only the past simple verbs, which are went to Paris. He was sent by the Australian government. It was to encourage more trade. It was therefore a very important speech. These are past simple because they are not followed by verb participle, the third participle of the verbs, or by the verbs plus ing. Past continuous. Past continuous, we have only one example, which is Mr. Powell Taylor was also traveling. Was also traveling. Present. Have you ever been mistaken for someone else? And this one is past perfect. Mr. Taylor had prepared it carefully. Now, I want to explain briefly when we can use simple tenses, when we can use continuous tenses, and when we can use perfect tenses for both simple and for both past and present. Generally, there are three main verb tenses in English. Three main verb tenses in English, which are present, past, and future. Present, past, and future. The present, past, and future tenses are divided into four aspects. Four aspects, which are simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. So we have past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. And we have present simple, present continuous, present perfect, and present perfect continuous. And we have future simple, future continuous, future perfect, and future perfect continuous. And these are 12. So, let us start with the simple tenses. Simple tenses usually refer to a single action. In general, simple tenses express facts and situations that existed in all times. For example, simple present, I drive home every day. So, I usually drive home. I do driving every day. It is not something happened in the past. It is not something happened just now, and it is not something will happen tomorrow only, but something happen every day. So in this case, we will use simple present. Sometimes we have facts, like for example, vehicle is driven by a person, or people drive cars. It means that cars couldn't be driven by itself. It should be driven by people. So it is fact. People drive cars. But when we talk about something specifically happened, that someone drive a car for specific event in a story, in this case we will focus on the tenses. Let us go to the simple past. Simple past, I drove home yesterday. It means that just yesterday I drove home. It means that today I didn't drive home. Tomorrow I will not drive home. I have not driven home the day before yesterday. Just yesterday I drove home. In this case, we use simple past. Sometimes when I want to talk about something happened yesterday while I was driving home. In this case, also I focus on the tense. Simple future, I will drive home later. It means I didn't drive home yesterday. I don't drive home every day, but I will do later. I will drive home later. Continuous tenses. It is used to talk about unfinished events, that something already started today or yesterday or any time in the past, and it is continuous. It is unfinished. For example, past continuous. I was driving when you called. So I want to talk about the event when someone called me. So I want to say what I was doing. I was driving when you called. It means when you called me, I already started driven to drive to home. I already started to drive to home, and I am on the way to the home. I haven't reached or arrived home. So I was in the way, so I was driving. I was driving when you called. But now, at the time when I am talking about this event, I may finish driving. Present continuous. I am driving now. Now I am talking to you. Now I am recording a video. So it's something I already started to do, and I still to do it. I didn't finish it, or I haven't finished it yet. So I am driving now. Future continuous, I will be driving when you call. It means when that someone said to me, I will call you tomorrow at 3. I know at 3 I will be on the way to home, and I will be driving. So I will say I will be driving when you call. It means I am on the way. Perfect tenses. Perfect tenses. Perfect tenses and perfect continuous tenses is from the tenses that are more complicated than other, even for native people. It expresses perfect tenses. It expresses the idea that one event happens before another event. For example, it is used with the adverbs never, yet, already are common use in perfect tenses. Present perfect, I have driven that road. I have driven that road. It means that I used this road before. I used this road before. Sometimes when we talk about something, we didn't remember the exactly date. And we do that maybe once and maybe more. So in this case, we will say I have driven that road. For example, I am going to our university using a Sarafiya bridge about 3 times a year. About 3 times a year. Last year, for example. So in this case, I don't remember. So I will say I have driven Al Sarafiya bridge. I have driven Al Sarafiya bridge. Past perfect, I had already driven that road in the past. If something happened, I don't know exactly when, I don't remember the exact date, but I did that more than one time. So I will say, I had already driven that road in the past. I had already driven that road in the past. Future perfect, I will have driven 200 miles by tomorrow. I will have driven 2 miles by tomorrow. Okay. Regarding future perfect, it is not necessary in our research, but regarding the present perfect, it is the one of the tenses that is very important in our research. Sometimes when we use present perfect, it means that something its effect is still continuous till now. When we say I have driven that road, it means I did that before, and I did that maybe near time, and I will do that maybe tomorrow. But I don't remember. I don't know exactly when. So I will say I have driven that road. In your research, for example, you will say regarding the test, you did some tests in the lab. You did some tests in the lab. So when you talked about the test in the laboratory, you will use past simple. Past simple. Why? Because you already finished all your tests in the laboratory. When you are writing your thesis, you already finished all your tests in the laboratory. The same way if you going to the line of traffic or transport planning, you need to collect data. So when you talk about the data that you collected, you should use past simple because you already collected your data. But when you discuss your result, some important results that its effect is you think it will continue in the future, so you should use present perfect. So be careful when you discuss results. Use either present time or present perfect. Sometimes when we talk about a story, and we by the way we say maybe we can say he arrived home. He arrived home. He had driven that road. He had driven that road. It means we talked about him when he arrived. He arrived in the past, but he had driven this road before arriving home. So this regarding sequence in the past, we use had past perfect to refer to something happened before the event that we are talking about. Perfect continuous tenses, generally perfect continuous tenses express duration or how long. By the way, we forget to say that when perfect usually used with never, yet, and already. Already, he had already driven that road in the past. Never, I have never used that. I haven't assess your homework yet. I haven't assessed your homework yet. Generally perfect continuous tenses express duration or how long. These tenses usually include the adverbs for or since. For or since. So usually perfect continuous used with for or since. For example, I have been driving since this morning. I have been driving. This is present perfect continuous. I had been driving for 3 hours before I stopped to get gas. Past perfect continuous. I will have been driving for 5 hours by the time I arrive. Future perfect continuous. So something happened before, but there is no, we don't know when it will finish. So we will say we have been driving. This is briefly some information about tenses. Tenses is one of the most important subject in English. So please, when you have time, have a look on sources about tenses and get more information. Thank you for listening. Now we will stop here and we will move to the second video to cover the vocabulary development.